Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Eric O. Young MMP, which is Music Mentorship Program. This is going to be a short video on setting up a mix bus. This is anywhere from kind of beginner intermediate to advanced, but one of the greatest tools that I use to basically have a setup where I can record my mixes and bounce them down to a stereo file and compare them to my new version or my new mix or my new master or whatever it is that I'm working on. I always want to be able to go back. So this is how I set it up here. If you go over to the mix window, I'll show you the signal flow. So basically you have these yellow ones here are my tracks. In this case, it's stems. They are all going out of what I call my main mix bus, which is going from left to right. Is this mix bus here. And then after it goes into this mix bus, I can put whatever treatment. These are just my my mix bus plugins. So I'm always putting a ton of those on. I'll go over in a different video what those actually are and how I pick them and how I change them in and out. But the signal flow is to go into this main bus, and then from there it goes into this send. This send then goes into what I call a lim bus or a limited bus. The reason why I have a limited bus is so that I can basically have a mastered version all the time. The reason why that is because when you send a mix to clients or even for yourself and you want to listen on your, iPhone, or you want to listen to whatever environment, it's always a huge bummer to have this uncompressed file that is just your master bus, and it doesn't really sound like the master. It doesn't sound as loud. It just doesn't pop as much. So I make another version of that goes through a limiter. So this is my limited bus, okay? That's an auxiliary bus. Both of these buses then render into these audio tracks here. So this mix bus then, as it says mix here, goes into this mix bus here, and that one is just called mix. That's the unlimited version. So if I finish the song, I'm going to end up sending this to my my mastering guy, not the version that I've already limited. All right. So the version that I already limited, that's going through this limited bus and then ending up on this track here. So this track here is the limited bus. If you look at it here, you can see that I've also put the previous track. So this here is my mix from my session earlier. I wrote the session in Cubase and I rendered it. And here's my mix, okay? So you can see the waveform is not as big. I did the same thing here though, but with the limited master, okay? So this is my rough. So when I put the rough in here, I can switch back and forth between these two tracks. If I want to hear the limited rough, then I unmute this one and I'm listening to this one. If I wanted to hear the regular rough, I unmute this one over here and I can switch between the two. In Pro Tools, I can mark both and use the shortcut Shift M, and I can listen back and forth. Let's listen to them. So as you can see, my limited version is a lot louder, okay? So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm listening to these two waveforms, the previous mix, okay? Now, what I want to do though, as I'm mixing or producing or whatever, is switch between listening to this waveform and instead listening to these tracks that are actually being mixed down. So the reason why I set that up is now I can switch the auto input, which is called input monitoring. In other cases, in this case, it's option K. See how I can turn that on and off? See how they're both switching? What that's doing is it's switching between listening to all these tracks or listening to the waveforms that are already in the previous version. So what's really cool about this is you can compare them. So in this case, I'm going to turn the guitar down. So I'm going to switch between this mix here and the actual tracks. So when it's green, that's the tracks coming from here. And when it's not green, then it's the actual waveform. So here it is with, and I turned this guitar down, remember, so you're gonna hear the difference. Okay, as you can see, the guitar's lower here because it's feeding through those tracks. So guys, this is super handy when you're working with different versions. So what you can do then is you create a new version here. And then you call this something like, you know, M2. And then what you do is you actually record these tracks onto this track. And then you have that new track underneath, and then you can go to mix 3, mix 4. You can always go back, compare the different mixes and stuff. This comes in really handy, not just when you're doing mixes, but when you're doing producing. Because sometimes you add a bunch of tracks and then you're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. But then later on, you want to go, well, let's compare this. And there was like magic in like some other version that you have underneath there, and you can compare it and go, oh wait, you know what? There's something about that other version that I like better than the new one. How can we get back to that? So that way you can compare them. So I'm going to switch to showing you how to set this up from scratch. Okay, so if you're just setting this up for the first time, what you're going to do is create a track. You know, this is just a regular audio track, so maybe you've already recorded your guitar or something like that. So there's your track. So we're going to go, the signal flow is going to go from left to right. It's going to show you from the source, which is this pretend audio track, okay? We're going to go here and create a new track. We want to make sure it's stereo, and then we're going to call it mix bus. I do this in all caps. None of my other tracks are all caps just because I want to separate these mix buses. So this one's called mix bus, okay? And it's not an audio track, but an aux input. There it is. There's my mix bus. So after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a send to another new track called aux input, called lim bus. Okay, there's my lim bus. So now I have two buses. These are not audio tracks, these are buses. They're going to bus to my audio tracks. So I'm gonna make these like a darker red here. So we've already created this track. So lim bus is going to the next track. Now both of these are going to go into new audio tracks. So what we're going to do is pump these out into new tracks. So this one's going to be audio track. And this one's going to be called, we'll call it lowercase mix. Okay, there it is here. And then we're going to create one more going out of the limited bus. This is also going to be an audio track, and it's going to be called mix lim. All right, I'm going to color both of these a brighter red so I can tell the difference between the two. And then, of course, these are going to go out of my outputs. Oh, I put this in the wrong order, sorry. There we go. This send goes to the lim bus, which is this, okay? It also goes out of the output, which is mix, and into this track. And then the limited bus is going out of here and into the limited audio track. So I hope this helps. This has been a practice of mine for probably a good 10, 15 years. It's been super essential. And yeah, I'll show you in another video what I actually use on those mix buses and how I do the treatment for both the mastering and mixing. So thanks for joining me.